Hello, guys, and welcome to Off the Boards. I am Josh. This is Ryan,
I'm
and
Ryan.
yes, and this is our podcast called Off the Boards. This is, of course, a hockey podcast. We'll be talking about everything from the NHL to the Olympics to the World Juniors to anything in junior hockey. Put it this way, if it's hockey and it's interesting, we'll probably end up talking about it. Now, as you can see from all of my wonderful Leafs trinkets back here, I am, of course, a Leafs fan. I've been watching this team since I was a kid. I've seen the bad teams growing up to the teams that are good now that still somehow can't manage to get out of the first round. And Ryan never lets me live that down.
Why would I?
Oh, yeah, of course. And as you can see from all of Ryan's stuff in the background, he is a Habs fan.
Yeah.
How long have you been watching?
I've been watching hockey most of my life. Really started following it, last 10 years or so, but Habs fan most of my life, and I think I know my stuff.
Well, I think we do too. We have a lot of interesting conversations, and one of our friends one day said, "Hey, you guys should record that and make it into a podcast." So here we are.
Yeah.
This is our second season at this. Hopefully, we're going to be more consistent than we did last year. I think we got like 5 episodes out, and then we kind of just bailed on it because life kind of took over.
Yeah.
But yeah, exactly, it happens. So we're gonna try to do this on a weekly basis kind of thing. So this week we're gonna be doing a couple Olympic predictions. We're gonna talk about the Kotkaniemi offer sheet that was not matched, and then we're going to talk about the Pacific Division and who we think the division winner of that's gonna be, and go through all the teams, of course. So let's get this going. Of course, we are first gonna talk about Jesperi Kotkaniemi. Man, look how good he looks in that Carolina jersey.
Listen, I wish him all the best. I mean, it's a great player for us, but God, the Hurricane smiles per 10 off the charts.
Were you?
Goddamn, that kid could light up a room. But,
were you sad?
Well, I had a week. I had like the whole week to kind of breathe it in, live with it. When it happened, I was kind of shocked. Say I was sad. Yeah, I mean, we lost a good young player. That's a lot of money.
It's just like, it seems like either Habs fans, when the offer sheet happened, they're all like, well, he's trash, let's just get rid of him anyway. But now it seems like a lot of you are like, hey, he was pretty good.
I don't know. Like, Kotkaniemi was a great player for us. Solid player, great playoff performance.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at those stats, he's kind of been regressing the last few years. He's still young, he's still only played a few years, but we haven't seen a ton of improvement from him. At least on the points side, I think his at least performance has improved a little bit, I think. But really, going into the offseason, I was like, all right, we're going to sign these players, we're going to do all this. Our meals be 3.4, be like 3 million, left going to be like 3 million. I can't be 2.5, maybe 3.5 million.
Well, and I mean,
6.1 is a lot of money.
I mean, we'll get into the stats here in a second, but you guys went out and quickly replaced Kotkaniemi with Christian Dvorak here.
Yeah.
So were those the picks that you guys moved? Were those the picks that you guys got from Carolina, or were those just different picks?
Not. It's a little weird. Because when we do the offer sheet, we got a first and third from Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
So what we did after we decided to not match it, we got the picks back. We went to Arizona and said, all right, we want Christian Dvorak, and we gave them a 2022 first, because we have ours and Carolina's. It'll be the better of those two, though it's top 10 protected. So if one or both of them is top 10, they get the worst picks. Otherwise, it's the best.
So wait, so if both picks, like somehow Carolina's going to make the playoffs, I'm sure of that. But let's say one pick was 7, one pick was 9, they would take 9, and you guys would keep 7?
Exactly, but if one pick was 7 and one pick was 24, they would still take 24.
That's.
But if one's 11, and one's 24, they get 11.
Oh yeah, you guys could get okay.
Yeah.
So.
We also gave them a 2024 second round.
That's just that's your guys' pick, right?
Yeah, that's our pick. Just second round pick here. Yeah, no conditions. Which, I mean, a first and a second for a second line center who's defensively minded, can play in all situations, and in a full season would put up around 45, maybe 50 points if you were to improve a little bit. Like a 40, 50 point player at that contract, like first and second's not bad.
No, it's not terrible. I mean,
yeah,
I'm sure. What's his contract right now? What did you say?
His contract is 4 years. For the next 4 years, it'll be 4.45.
Are you guys under the cap ceiling right now, or?
Currently we are over the cap by about $6.7 million, which
Wait,
sounds
but
like a lot, but
day one you put Weber on LTIR.
Exactly. So because of we are $6.7 million over, but we're going to be in the same situation as Tampa was, and Habs fans, Montreal and Tampa.
Love that.
That was
team.
a fun time.
Love that team.
But yeah, what's the situation because Shea Weber will be on due to his injuries.
Love Nikita Kucherov.
Yeah. I wish we could get a player as good as Nikita Kucherov.
Oh, buddy, I'm with you.
For the playoffs. Though I don't know that Weber, the Montreal Canadiens, will return to hockey.
No, I think Weber. I think he's done. I think that's it. I think his career is over.
Yeah, we know for a fact he's done for the season. I really don't see him going back. Honestly, I mean we don't know for sure, but it's hard to see him come back for injuries like that. For a player like that, with his play style and his career, God, that'd be tough to come back from. Especially come back from and be the same.
We don't know. Yeah, we don't know his career, but I mean, I'm more curious to your opinion. What do you think of not having a captain this year?
I mean, the Montreal Canadiens have always had solid leadership in guys like Price and Gallagher. So even if we don't have a guy wearing the C necessarily, we still have assistants. We don't know if they've changed. As far as I know, it's still Byron and Gallagher. But I mean, the leadership on that team's nothing that I'm worried about. Do
you think they're going to give Petrie the other one?
I think if they were to put a third A out, or maybe have four alternates, I should say, and swap them around, I think Jeff Petrie would be one of the guys. As for the other one, I don't really know. It depends on who steps up.
Yeah.
I could definitely see somebody like not Thomas Starr. We got rid of him, but
Thomas.
Tyler Foley. Sorry, the other TT. Tyler Foley, or even I could maybe see Nick Suzuki maybe stepping up.
He'd have to step up big.
Yeah, he has to step up big, but like, if he's our number one center for the future, he's the kind of guy you look to.
Yeah.
And I mean, from what I've seen, he's still young, yes, very, very young, but I don't know. I think just the way he plays and the way he seems to act, he does kind of seem like a leadership kind of guy. Maybe not now, but probably down in the future I see him.
Oh yeah, definitely in the future. Well, let's take a look at the stat comparisons between Dvorak and Kotkaniemi here.
Yeah.
Well, I would say Carolina's definitely getting more of a raw player in the sense of that he's not as proven. It looks like he's showing signs of regression. I don't want to say I don't think he's regressing. I don't think he is. I think he's just had a bad string of luck. Like, I mean, you guys you scratched him in game 1 of the playoffs.
We did, but you gotta remember, he came into the playoffs after. It was a good playoff. Later in the playoffs, he won Game 6 for us against the Leafs. Solid for a couple rounds, and we saw some scratching. Saw him scratch later against Tampa. We'd lost 3 games. Something had to change. Why not? But what I will say about Kotkaniemi, though the points may not show it, his play has improved. He's more defensively reliable. He is still learning. He's got the pieces. He's got the vision. He's got the hockey IQ. He's got all of the things you need to be a good center in this league. It's just a matter of can he put it together and can he improve certain areas. Well, mainly, the thing he needs to improve the most, shot rates. He has a great shot. It's so slow. If his shot were any faster, he'd be a deadly sniper. I swear, he could.
Who, Kotkaniemi?
Yeah, absolutely. His shot, second to Caulfield. The only problem is it's so slow it doesn't matter.
I've always saw him as more of a playmaker anyway than a goal scorer. But then I guess I looked at his playoff stats and he had 5 goals. But
yeah,
I mean, but when you compare him to someone like Dvorak, right? I mean, Dvorak's career, he's like a 15 to 20 goal guy. I mean,
Dvorak is a much different player.
No, that's the thing. He's more in the. Last year, the only thing that scares me about him is, I mean, I know he was on Arizona, but he was -11. I know he was putting up points, on a pace.
Yeah.
That's like what, a
Like
50-ish point pace?
I believe it's like a 45 point pace, 50s. But yeah, I think -11, plus minus, not the greatest stat. We all know it. It's like, how reliable is it? And again, Arizona. But it's hard to say. Anything can happen there. The number plus and minus really does. They just don't have the system for it. Though here's what I will say. In my mind, Dvorak is not the replacement for Kraken. Dvorak is our replacement for Philip. In Arizona, Dvorak plays power play minutes, plays penalty kill minutes. He's the guy you put in when you need to win a face-off, and to me, that sounds a lot more like Philip in those games than hockey games.
I mean, we'll get into the lines when we do the Atlantic Division, but I am curious. So, are you saying that you think that Nick Suzuki is going to play line 1, or do you think Dvorak's going to be line 1?
I still think Nick Suzuki will be line 1 with the new coach, Ducharme. He's had the summer to figure out his plan. I think we're going to see a much more offensively oriented Montreal Canadiens team, or at least I hope we do. We certainly have the players for it now, and it's something different.
Ducharme is funny though, because I thought he was coaching for his for his job in when we were in the Leafs series, but I mean, and then he won that series. I don't think the Habs won. I think the Leafs choked, but is what it is.
But, I mean, even then, he still beat Winnipeg. He still beats Vegas.
Yeah. So you wanna?
Yeah. Let's move on.
Let's get into our predictions here. So we're gonna be doing 2 Olympic predictions this video. We each did our own team on Cat Friendly. Shout out to Cat Friendly. Love that website.
Great site.
Absolutely. So we're gonna start off today with Finland and Sweden. I think Finland's the first team. So as you guys all know, especially since I just said, the NHL is allowing players to participate in the 2022 Beijing Winter Olympics this year. Let's go. Canada finally stands a chance. So we're going to start off with Team Finland here, and I believe this is the team I assembled. Yes, it is. Right. So, as you can see, it's it's a little all over the place. I also forgot that you could add an additional forward. I thought that it was 1 forward. I guess you can bring 2. So that would be something that I would have to add. But, there's going to probably be some standout young Finnish player this year. There could be that just could fill that spot. Or, I could have been missing someone completely. But I think that, I think line A, he's going to play on line 1 with Barkov and Rantanen. And I think that's just dirty. And then, I have... What?
Oh, sorry. Continue.
I was just going to say Aho and Teravainen on the same line. I think that chemistry will help them out a little bit when they're out there playing together, because they play together on a normal basis anyways. Other than that, the forwards are kind of just like, they don't have a lot of standouts other than, like, there's like 5 or 6 forwards on this team where it's like, these guys are like practically superstars. And then, like, Joel Armia, alright, no offense to them, Joel Armia, Tari Lehkonen, Eric Halleck, Kasperi Kapanen, Jonas Donskoy, and Mikael Granlund. Not really the superstars, but they are good depth pieces to have on this team.
Very solid depth players. Good defensive minds.
On the defensive side, I have Marcus Nuvera. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that right. That was a guess. Nudevera, cool. Rasmus Ristolainen. I have Linden playing with Heiskanen, because I think I'm pretty sure they play together on a normal when they play on Dallas. So, and plus they're teammates anyways, so they have that chemistry. And then I have Olli Mata and Sami Vatanen there. I think that Jokiharju might kick Mata out. I think it's just going to depend on play style and how Mata and Jokiharju actually play this year. But I do think that Jokiharju is kind of, playing with an arm tied behind his back because he's on Buffalo. But the goalies I ended up going with actually are Antti Ranta, Jussi Saros, and Capo Kakanainen.
Okay.
Not... Yeah. I was going to say...
It's a solid roster.
It is. And, Ranta could be there. Ranta could not be there. It really depends. Ranta gets hurt a lot. If he stays healthy, I think he could definitely make it, because you look at his stats and they're gross. But,
absolutely. When he's healthy, it's great.
There are some Finnish players that I left out, and we don't have a very good sample size from Capo. but in the games he did play, he played out his mind. So I think it could have worked out for him. But here we'll go now to Ryan's team here. You want to read it off, or do you want me to?
Oh yeah, I didn't know she switched it. Yeah, I mean we'll just notice some of the big differences. I have Hintz playing on the third line with Brandon and Armia. Our top six I think is basically the same. I have Donko moving up. I didn't put the national forward that you had. The one I don't remember his name.
Tolvanen.
Yeah, Tolvanen. I didn't even put him on the team. I might just slip my mind. But yeah, Armia, Lehkonen. I think Capo Caco will make this team, even just as an extra.
I was gonna say, I think he has to step up big this year. I think this is gonna be a big proving year for Capo.
Yeah, I think
Capo.
Once we get to the Metro UC, I think there's gonna be a lot of New York Rangers players that are gonna have to step up and take this team to the playoff contender.
Absolutely.
But as for this team, it's pretty solid. We both have Barkov and Aho right down the middle. Who else we put there?
Yeah. All of our centers are all the same. I noticed.
Yeah, they are. I threw Kotkaniemi on there, just because I know if you're going to take another forward, you might as well. I think he's right on the cusp. If he steps up in Carolina this year, he might even be Hallow for starting position on this team.
He would be he'd be my other player if I added the 14th. He'd be the other guy.
Okay. As for defense, more or less looks the same. Little positions messed around. I think Heiskanen will be their number one defenseman. Him and Lindell will take those minutes. Ristolainen and Mata will play second line minutes. As for goaltending, I think Stars will be the starter. I think you take Stars as a starter and don't look back. I mean, right at the end of the year, it's natural that he turned that team around. So he carried that team right till the end.
And I mean, the only thing I'll say is I don't know if Tuukka Rask is going to actually be back playing by the point when the Olympics starts.
That's the thing. We don't know if Rask will be back. If Rask doesn't come back, it's the obvious choice. But other than that, Korpisalo, another great player. When it matters, Korpisalo really shows up. Columbus didn't have the greatest year this year, but in the bubble last year, God, he was something else. Josh, I
don't look, man. I don't want nightmares of Jonas Korpisalo. Like, goalies give me nightmares, man. David Ayres, Jonas Korpisalo, Elvis Merzlikins. Like, the other thing I'll say is we both picked different spare defensemen. Interestingly enough, you went with the Calgary with the young kid from Calgary. I went with the younger guy from Buffalo. Yep. I mean, I honestly think that last defensive spot's probably up in the air. It's gonna come down to who's the standout player, the standout defenseman this year. Like, I mean, like, and that's the thing. Like, these rosters obviously are just our predictions. They could be drastically different. There could be random guys that we don't even know about yet who could just step up this year and just be absolute nuts. So, we'll move on from Finland here, and let's move on to the Swedish team.
Sweden.
So, again, I think this first one here... Yeah, the first team is mine. So I have Landeskog playing with Backstrom and Nylander. I then have Forsberg playing with Pettersson and Victor Olofsson. Then I have Arvidsson playing with Zibanejad and Hornquist. And then I have Lindholm playing with Backlund and Raquel. And I have Marcus Johansson as my spare forward. Hedman and Erik Carlson. Carlson may not be that guy anymore. I don't know. I still think he's a good player. I think he'll make this team. Mm-hmm. I don't think he'll be the number one guy on the right side. It'll probably be Klingberg. But then I have Ekholm playing with Klingberg and OEL playing with Adam Larsen. OEL's not the same player anymore either. I think that Jacob Chychrun, I think he was holding that line together last year. Yeah. But it is what it is. OEL is still a great Swedish defenseman, and then Hampus Lindholm is the spare guy. I mean, Lindholm's a good enough player where he could probably push for that spot. It's just gonna come down to it. And then goalies, there's only 3 really good Swedish goalies in the NHL right now. So Robin Leonard, Jacob Markstrom, and Linus Ullmark. And I honestly think this. I may have Leonard as the starter. I just put the 3 goalies there. I don't know who's going to be starting. Linus Ullmark had a really good year last year playing on Buffalo. His stats were solid. And he's playing on Boston now. Like, he could come out this year and just light up the league. Like,
I'm interested to see what Linus Ullmark does this year.
I wanted the Leafs to sign Linus Ullmark. I wanted the Leafs to sign Ullmark.
Yeah.
I'm not mad that we got Peter Mrazek, but like...
Ullmark would have been a solid choice, yeah.
I wanted Ullmark. I wanted him to trade for Ullmark last year.
Yeah.
But no, we go with Dave Rittich. Alright, so yeah, that's my team here. Let's get your comparison. So what do you got cooking here?
Alright, much the same. You have Elias Lindholm on the 4th line. I haven't... Lindholm is a great player. Really solid work from him, so I'm excited to see what they can do. Down the center, it's more or less the same. I have Eriksson there.
Yeah.
Joel Eriksson, he was a Selke finalist this year. He's a guy you could put out there and just let him play defense. Kind of just let him take over and do his thing.
Yeah.
Other than that, Burakovsky's on this team. Avalanche has been great. He was good in Washington. He's been great here. I think he'll do great in this team, especially with the Zibanejad signing. Zibanejad especially is an absolute all-star. But yeah.
I think that my other spare guy, because again I didn't add a spare forward, I honestly think it's probably a toss-up between Carlson and Eriksson.
Yeah, that's the other guy. Carlson, another great player. I mean, he hasn't been the same players that he was since the inaugural season.
Wow.
Vegas.
Okay. Yeah, you're not gonna. Right. You get a guy who scores 40 goals once. I'm pretty sure he used every bag or every trick in his bag that year.
Yeah.
So.
yeah. I can't blame him. Especially he's playing reduced minutes. He's playing second. So they have Stone and Patrick on top line. They don't want to mix up the OG line they had. I think he's still a solid player. I don't know if he'd be the star center, but maybe they put him on wing out.
Our defense is also a little different here.
It is a little different. I had OEL as their extra player. Just if nothing else is there, just because it's OEL. Erik Carlson is still on the second pair. I think he might even push down to the third. I don't know. You have Jonas Brodin there. Jonas Brodin's a pretty solid player, but I don't know. If Erik Carlson can do what he needs to do and play like power play minutes, and just do his thing, that's a solid player you got there. The other big difference is Rasmus Dahlin. I am expecting a good year from Rasmus Dahlin, even though he's in Buffalo.
See, we both have differing opinions on Dahlin. I mean, we'll get really into it when we get to Buffalo, but I don't think Dahlin, with the amount of with the coaching he's had so far, I don't think he's good enough to play in the Olympics. That's just my my hot take on that. I don't see it yet. Maybe if he has a breakout year this year, he'll be ready. But I think if you threw him on the ice with these guys right now, he would be the guy that you're just like, why is he there?
I don't disagree that right now he's still not as good as the guys around him.
Yeah.
I think you take him and put him on this team, give him the coaching, give him everything he needs to play on the international team. Because 5-10 years from now, Rasmus Dahlin's going to be your number one defenseman for Sweden. Mm-hmm. He's going to be your top guy. So I think you take him now, get him ready, have him ready to go when it comes time. Actually, you don't want to be 5-10 years down the line and not have Dahlin ready to play with Dahlin.
Well, no, and I'm not. Yeah, I agree with you there. But let's. I mean, we're only gonna go through the top 5-ish kind of teams we think are gonna be in the Olympics. That being Sweden, Finland, Russia, America, and Canada. So I think the next episode we're probably going to do Russia and America, and then we'll save Canada for the last episode, because I think we're going to end up doing Canada A and Canada B just to show how good Canadian hockey players are.
Yeah.
So moving on from the Olympics, let's get into the Pacific Division here a little bit. So
all right, let's get into it.
There is a change in the Pacific Division this year. There
is, yeah.
We see Arizona moving to the Central, and we bring in Seattle.
Yep.
I think that, I'm not going to say that makes this division stronger. I still think this is probably the weakest division in the NHL.
Yeah, it kind of has to be.
I was just going to say 3 out of the 8 teams, maybe even 4 of them, the rebuilding teams. The California teams in Seattle, I'm pretty sure, rebuilding-ish. I think Seattle is better than those three teams: Sharks, Kings, and the Ducks.
I think their active teams are. I think Seattle doesn't have the prospects they do though. So
No,
I think LA will have a good year. We'll see once we get to the lineups, but
Yeah,
they got a lot of young guys.
we'll take a look here. So the first team we're gonna go through here is the Ducks. So the Ducks players that are out this year, there's not really that many notable guys. I think that Danton Heinen might have played a little bit of time for them last year. I recognize that name for some reason. I think David Backus was an LTIR guy. I don't think he played much last year, and if he did, it was in the AHL.
Yeah.
And Ryan Miller was their backup. Yeah, because he would have been to John Gibson. Guys they're bringing in this year, I'll be honest with you, Ryan, I don't recognize any of these names.
Josh, you just switch slides set on. See it there on my screen.
Yeah, 1 second.
Thank you very much.
Me and Ryan will get better at this as we go. Just
Yeah.
saying. So yeah, I don't recognize any of these names going out.
Backus, Miller, and Heinen, you don't recognize going out?
Or sorry, I mean the players going in. I recognized those guys. But Trevor Zegras. I don't recognize that name.
Zegras, he is a Calder finalist. Top prospect you're seeing coming in right now. Absolutely.
Was he a draft pick?
He was drafted a couple years ago, but this is a kid.
Okay, fair
One of
enough.
the best prospects in the AHL.
Look, I don't think we have very many fans, but if there's any Duck fans out there, sorry if I insulted your player. Don't recognize his name. Do you know anything about this Cody Curran guy?
No, not as far as I know. It's not a huge prospect. Maybe Ducks fans probably know a little more than I would, but yeah, no.
Well, I mean, fair enough. We can get into to the Ducks lineups. I'm the one that went through the Ducks here. Me and Ryan kind of split these up. We each did 4 apiece. So we'll start off with the Ducks. Their best player last year, stats-wise, was Maxime Comtois.
Yeah.
So
solid player.
I think Comtois is going to end up playing with Adam Henrique and Jakob Silverberg. Then we're going to see Ricard Raquel playing with Sam Steele and Troy Terry. Then I think Sonny Milano. I think Ryan Getzlaf's going to take a step back this year, and he might even get bumped to the 4th line at one point this year. He just doesn't have the gas in the tank for this team to win games.
He's getting up there in the NHL.
And because you have guys like Max Jones. I think Max Jones could take a step forward this year. Alexander Volkov. He only small sample size in that guy, but he was producing in the games that he did play. Derek Grant, don't really know a lot about him. I think he's a serviceable NHL player. And then Nicholas DeSaunders.
Delorier.
That's Delorier. Wow. Okay.
L.
Yeah, I botched it. And then they got Buddy Robinson, who has kind of been I want to say he's an AHL lifer, but I don't know a lot about him. I know he came from Ottawa, but other than that, yeah. And then Isaac Lundstrom, kind of a prospect guy, kind of a working something that they got to work on, I guess. He's pretty raw. Bit of a project, but
definitely there's definitely.
And then defensively, I don't hate this team's defense.
No, it's pretty solid defense, honestly.
Cam Fowler, Josh Mason, Hampus Lindholm, Kevin Shattenkirk, Jacob Larson, and Jamie Drysdale. I think Drysdale makes his team this year.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
not only do I think Drysdale makes his team, I think you probably even see him above a guy like Kevin Shattenkirk.
The only thing is I put Kevin Shattenkirk there because he was their leading defensive point getter last year, surprisingly
enough. Was he really?
Yeah, surprisingly enough. And then, so I just, goalies here, John Gibson.
Yeah, obviously.
And
one
Anthony.
One of the best goaltenders.
Yeah, their backup, Anthony who? No, kidding.
Stoll.
Yeah,
Stoll,
but
you'll see it for 10 games.
Yeah,
he'll. For the love of God, don't run your goalie for 70+ games. It's not worth it. It's not worth it.
He'll get his games. He will get in there for a couple. I mean, do I think this team is going to improve over last year? Yes. Do I think it's going to be drastic?
No.
They have to have guys like Maxime Comtois and Max Jones, and they have to step up, and Sam Steele. Sam Steele's really got to step up this year. This has to be improving year for that guy.
Yeah. And the other guy you don't have here is Trevor Zegras, who I think should have an immediate impact. I don't think it'll be enough to carry them out of the basement, but it'll still be solid.
So you don't think he'll make this lineup though?
Absolutely. I think he maybe he plays third line center minutes. Maybe fourth line. I don't know.
Fair enough.
I think he's definitely a player on this team.
Well, let's if we have guys like that step up, I think this defense is better than most of the defensive lineups in this division.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And I think their goalie is, there's 8 teams in this division. I think he's top 3.
I think he might be the best goaltender in the division.
The only one I'd fight for is Robin Leonard.
Yeah, it's him and Leonard at top.
Yeah. And so, I think that, we'll go over where we think these teams are going to finish here at the end. But, I honestly think this team could push for a wild card in this division.
I don't think we're there yet. I don't think Pacific's going to take any wild card positions.
Yeah.
Maybe one of the Canadian teams might. I really doubt it. Calgary, I don't know.
We'll see Calgary in a second here.
Yeah, we'll get there.
I don't know. I think this team can stop the puck. They might not be able to put up as many points, goals-wise, as the other teams, but I think they can keep the puck out of the net.
I think you're going to... The problem is I think you're going to see a lot of, 1 or 2 nothing losses.
Well, I'm not...
Ziegler's a great player, but I don't know.
I don't disagree with you on that.
All right. So who do we have next?
We're on to the Flames here, actually. So, the Flames, guys, they're losing this year. Or the guys, we'll start there. Nikita Nesterov, don't really know a lot about that guy. Josh Lievo, why is he listed as a D?
Is he not D?
No, he's a forward.
No.
Unless there's 2 Josh Lievos. Anyways, Josh Lievo, he's probably an NHL lifer, 4th line guy. He's a solid, you can put him there. He's going to be solid. But Mark Stone, pretty solid NHL defenseman in the top 6. Ryan Derrick, he got I'm pretty sure he got traded to Edmonton because I know he's on the Edmonton lineup. We saw Dave Rittich get traded into Toronto, and then I don't think he's under contract anywhere right now unless he had longer than a 1-year deal, but I don't think the Leafs would have taken it.
Yeah.
We saw Mark Giordano get taken in the expansion draft, and Jakob Nordstrom.
Yeah. Giordano is the biggest loss for the team.
Absolutely.
The other guys I don't think are any big worry.
It's their captain. Did they name a captain yet, or?
I don't believe so.
Fair enough. So Ryan was the one that put together the Calgary lineup here.
Yep.
What do you got?
So we got Goudreau, Lindholm, and Chuck. I think Lindholm pushes and takes a top line center minutes this team. Something needs to change. If you don't want to do a trade, he makes up the minutes a bit. Lindholm, I think, is a guy that has potential for it. Was a good offensive game, which is good for Goudreau and Chuck. And then the second line, you let Sean Monahan kind of still be his solid, boring self. But you got Blake Coleman this year. Blake Coleman's a great player. Absolutely maybe one of the most underrated players. Underrated, top 6, not a star player kind of area.
I think
very good.
I think he can fill a lot of minutes on because I'm pretty sure he's a versatile player who can play penalty kill and power play if you need him to.
He's the guy who can play in all situations. Absolutely.
I don't know how many points he'll produce on this line, but I don't hate this line.
Yeah. You get Dylan Dubé there too. He's, young guy, got some things to figure out, but
I feel like
still a young guy.
For I know we're not done going through this, but for this team to succeed this year, they need to figure out the top line. Johnny Gaudreau needs to figure it out. He had a rough year last year. Sean Monahan's gonna have to center the second line and get it.
Yeah.
Play with Blake Coleman, figure it out. And if Dylan Dubé steps up, if Dubé scores 20 goals, that's a great year for him.
Yeah, it is.
So I'll let you continue here.
After that you have Andrew Mangiapane, Michael Backlund. Solid third line. Backlund's pretty good center.
It's a great third line center.
Yeah. After that you get Lucic, Godin, Brett Ritchie. You're not going to see much from them. Neal and Lucic God, that cap, it's gotta be rough. You only get 2 more years on it, but damn, that's rough for you.
I mean, we thought, I just want to say this, we thought Seattle would make a lot more moves after the expansion draft. The only 2 that they really made was moving Tyler Pitlick, surprisingly enough.
Yeah.
I don't know a lot about this guy, but I'm pretty sure, from what I've heard, he's solid. He's a solid NHL guy.
Yeah, solid NHL guy. Not anywhere near a star, but
no, absolutely not. But he's a solid third-line player to be playing with Backlund, who I probably think is the best third-line center in this division.
He's definitely up there for sure. I mean, you don't see a lot of great center depth in this division for the most part, other than this. And you'll see when we get to LA.
Yeah.
Interesting pieces there. But this forward group, you get some good top end. Depth is pretty good. Not the best, not the worst, definitely. On defense, though, you have Noah Hannafin, Rasmus Andersson, Nikita Zadorov, Chris Tanev, Juuso Välimäki, Andy Welinski, and Oliver Killington. This defense is okay. Noah Hannafin needs to break out a little bit more. Rasmus Andersson, same deal, maybe not as much. Noah Hannafin is still the guy that needs to step. He was one of the pieces they got back before. Not much. One Norris, right? So
yeah.
There's a lot that you have to see there. And then you've got Mark Dubnyk. Devin Dubnyk, I don't believe is signed by them, but their secondary goal, their backup, I don't think they have a solid choice unless they grab one of their younger guys. So if you're looking for just somebody who can play a few games and do the job well enough, Dubnyk's probably your best bet.
Yeah, and I mean, I think I don't know if he'll take league men, and I don't know what Calgary's cap situation looks like off the top of my head, but he'd be a serviceable backup for this team. Markstrom, didn't he struggle a little bit last year, it seemed like?
Markstrom's, I mean, it wasn't terrible, I don't think. I'll pull up the stats here. 904, 268, 43. It's not bad.
No.
It's not the guy you saw before, so 918.
Well, I think that the biggest problem with this team is, it's their forwards struggled last year putting the puck in the net. Issue number 1. Mm-hmm. Issue number 2 is their defensive core is not the strongest in this division.
No, losing Giordano definitely hurts.
I genuinely don't know. I mean, I don't know if this team pushes for playoffs. I really don't.
No. These are definitely like a bottom end of the bubble teams kind of thing. I don't think they'll be basement team.
No. I think they'll
I have a hard time seeing them.
I think they'll be in the race because their division's weak.
Yeah.
But because I'm not going to spoil it, but I know 2 teams in this division are going to be locked in. And then the rest of them, I was just looking at it. I really don't know. I mean, it's a coin toss on a lot of these teams because one team's going to make it. But
there's one guaranteed team. I think there's 2 teams that should make it. One's got to figure out the cap situation first.
Yeah.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
Do you think they name a captain?
Calgary?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if it's time yet. So I think, honest to God, I think the guy might be.
Did you say it's a joke?
Yeah. That's.
Yeah, I
think he's the guy you build up if you're gonna retool this team.
I'm not gonna disagree with that. I also just noticed he's in his last year.
Yeah, he's RFA after this year as well as John.
Yeah,
now, and I said Tkachuk might be the captain. John Monahan's also in that running. John Monahan actually wears an A right now, so maybe Monahan takes a C and Tkachuk takes an A. I think the thing is, Gaudreau's contract up, so I don't know what you do there.
I think it will depend on a couple different things, but we'll move on to the Oilers here.
Yeah.
So we'll look at the Oilers. We'll start with their outs first. Alex Chiasson. Yeah, you can say it a lot of different ways. It's kind of a decent loss for them. I'm pretty sure he logged a lot of minutes for them last year. Not really the biggest point guy, but again, kind of a solid player. Tyler Ennis, he's been that guy who always he always finds his way onto a team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, solid depth piece. Never your strength.
Gaten Hayes. I don't really know a lot about him.
Yeah,
I don't know if you do.
Yeah, a few of these guys are. The rest of these guys are mostly no names except for James Neal.
Well,
James Neal, unfortunately, just didn't work out in Edmonton. The other guys, not really sure.
I'm gonna butcher this. Kahari.
Yeah.
I think that's how you pronounce that. I'm not really sure. He he played decent last year in the games he played in the small sample size we got. So I wouldn't be surprised if he got a shot on another team. The other one I noticed that's not in this list that got moved is wasn't Ethan Bear?
He was moved. I can't believe I missed that. I think it might have been. There were a few players that I just left out if they've been working the deadline. I tried to only keep players that were there at the end of the season, but
so yeah.
Actually, I said that Ethan Bear wasn't moved.
Bear.
Yeah, that's my bad.
Ethan Bear out. So then we'll bring in the notable ends. Zach Hyman. I'm gonna miss that guy. I'm gonna say it now. Zach Hyman's a great player, but I will say, I don't like the contract. He signed the exact contract. He signed the same contract that Lucic did. The exact same years term, or years of money. It's the same thing. Warren Fogel's a solid pickup though.
Yeah.
For Ethan,
going back to Hyman for a second. You say it's the same as Lucic. I think Hyman's game will transfer a little bit better. Will age a little bit better than Lucic did.
It's.
I think that Hyman might also want it more. That might just be the fact that I hate Lucic, but no. I think I will do better than Lucic did.
I think his game's gonna age poorly.
Really?
I'll straight up say it. I think Hyman's game is gonna age poorly. I might end up eating my words on that, but I genuinely think his game is gonna age poorly.
Okay.
Then we got Ryan. Derek Ryan, who they acquired from Calgary. Again, not super notable, but is a good player.
Solid, decent depth piece, as is Brandon Berlini.
Yeah.
Another good depth piece. The other big asset they brought in was
Wild.
Yeah, I
don't hate the move, but I don't love it.
I honestly, no, I trade Ethan Bear for a 38-year-old, 37-year-old.
Yeah,
38-year-old player.
Yeah.
I don't see why. What's your benefit? Are you trying to win now? Why? You don't have the roster to win. So I just don't understand.
I think that they do have, they have a lot of good pieces. Yeah. And I think that if the Oilers are going, they're probably going to make another run this year.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think it's probably one of my three teams.
So, the Oilers right now, because I put this lineup together, I ended up deciding, because their notable RFA that isn't signed right now is Kailer Yamamoto. Mm-hmm. I like Kailer Yamamoto. I believe, and this might be a hot take, Mikko Koskinen isn't going to start the year on Edmonton. I think Edmonton's going to make a trade, and I believe that trade is going to happen with Buffalo. I think that they're going to end up trading Mikko Koskinen to Buffalo for a 4th round pick. And there's going to be a condition with that pick, and if Koskinen were to play more than 50% of the games, that pick becomes a 3rd. I think that Edmonton can take that 4th, which could be a 3rd, and take their 2nd round pick for this year and go to Seattle and ask for Joey Decord, which saves them $4-ish million in cap space this year. The reason that I think that Buffalo would be inclined to do this is because Buffalo has to hit the cap floor. They're under the floor right now. They're only under it by a few $1 million. But at the end of the day, there's still potential. I mean, Rasmus Dahlin isn't signed. Someone could offer sheet him. And it could put Buffalo in a tough spot. So I think this trade is good for Edmonton, because Edmonton gets the young goalie they need who can play backup this year behind Mike Smith. And, they need someone.
Someone needs to play there. But, I mean, Alex Stalock is still there.
Yeah, Stalock could be the backup. I just, they got to save money, because they need to bring Yamamoto back. He's a big piece of this offense.
Yeah, he is.
And so, we'll get into it. Here's what I got. So, Zach Hyman's going to play with Connor McDavid. I don't think there's any really doubt that that's going to happen. I think Hyman is going to play first line minutes. He played first line minutes on the Leafs with Matthews. And I think that winger that's going to play with them is I think it's going to be Puljujärvi.
You think about Puljujärvi comes back? Okay.
Well, Puljujärvi is signed right now. Do you mean like come back to the NHL?
I mean come back to McDavid's.
Oh yeah, I think so. I think we'll see it starting off the year at least. So I also think that I was able to make money moves, as one does, and I was able to sign Kelly Yamamoto. I think Yamamoto is going to take a $3 million deal over 2. It'd be a bridge deal, but for the money they have right now, I think that that's what they need to do with this situation. So then I would think that the Nuge is going to move to the wing this year and play on the second line with Draisaitl and Yamamoto. And I think that's a solid line. I really do. Because if shit hits the fan with Puljujärvi, you can always just go, okay, Draisaitl, you're playing on line 1, Nuge, move to the middle, Puljujärvi, move down.
Yeah.
So
they have that freedom, that flexibility.
Yeah, now they have the flexibility. Last year they really didn't. They were a one-line team. And they could still be a one-line team, but I think that this, like, bringing in Hyman and being able to sign Yamamoto, him being in year 2, I think that helps this team. Especially, like...
That top 6 looks like a cup contender.
Yeah. And I like their bottom 6, too. I like their depth pieces this year. Warren Foegele is great.
I think these are solid depth pieces. A little overpaid and not quite good. But win a cup, if you're going to be a contender, your third line needs to be better. Vogel's a good piece, but you need to be better than Devin Short and Zach Cassian.
I don't know if you... I don't know, because I don't mind Zach Cassian playing third line minutes on this team. To me, the one that's kind of unproven is Devin Short, and that, I think he's better than Kyle Turris playing on the third line.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
But... it's tough because Kyle Turris could also, going to the fourth line. Kyle Turris could get moved to the wing or off this team completely, and Derek Ryan could slide into that spot.
Yeah.
But Tyler Benson, I don't know if you know a lot about this guy. Every league he's gone to, he has produced. Last year, he had 36 points in 38 games in the AHL. So, I definitely think he could push for this team. The only thing is, I've heard from Oilers fans in the past that there's some kind of turmoil between him and this team, which is surprising because he's from Alberta. But it almost seems like the Oilers don't want to give this guy a shot. But if they do give him a shot, I mean, he could move up from the fourth line. He could end up, maybe if Puljujärvi shits the bed, maybe he's the guy that goes up there and try him with McDavid. Someone's got to work on McDavid's wing. There should be a guy that's not named Leon Draisaitl, who can go up there and score 30 goals at least. Yeah.
I mean, really, all you need, what the guy that Carmen needs, he needs the Alex Burrows to the Sedins.
Put your stick on the ice.
Somebody can go to the net, put their stick on the ice, and trust that Carmen McDavid will do this.
My hot
that's
take,
what you need.
because I love Zach Hyman, but I hate the contract. Zach Hyman will have the worst statistical point-wise year that he'll ever had. His plus-minus might be higher, but I think points-wise, this will be the worst year he's had. Well,
you think Zach Hyman's going to have the worst points?
In the past 3 years.
You think Zach Hyman's going to have the worst season he's had in 3 years playing in Connor McDavid's?
Yes.
Moving on to the defense. Darnell Nurse, Tyson Barrie, Doug Keith, Cody Ceci, Oster Klefbom, Evan Bouchard, and William Larson. That's not a bad defense. I mean, if Oster Klefbom can come back and be healthy, him, Nurse, and Barrie, that's a solid top 3 defense.
Yeah, well, I mean, and here's the thing, right? Cap Friendly does have them listed as right and left defensemen. I don't know how accurate that is. I assume it's accurate because everything on Cap Friendly seems pretty accurate. So, But if you have a left side that's Darnell Nurse, Duncan Keith, and Klefbom, I know I said I hate the move for Duncan Keith, but on a defense like that, that's pretty deep.
Yeah.
I don't like Cody Ceci, but to his benefit, he did play good last year on the Penguins.
Yeah.
Is it worth 3.2? I don't think so. But it's the Oilers.
Yeah.
You have to pay players to come play in Canada for some stupid reason.
Well, I mean, I think Cody Ceci. I think if you're not playing him in hard minutes, if you can play him a little bit sheltered and let him just not be your big guy on defense, let him be the depth piece. I think he'll play fine. I think $3 million is a little much to pay for a depth piece. But if you can have, like, remember Justin Schultz, he played terribly in Edmonton, actually. Went to Pittsburgh, played like their second pair. Suddenly he was a great defenseman.
I mean, I'll tell you what I do love. You finish what you're saying. I'll go here in a second.
I was basically done. It's just the idea of, some players you just have to let them be. Don't have them be the star. Let them be the depth piece, and they will succeed.
Oh yeah, I agree. But what I do love, the Tyson Barrie contract.
Yeah, that was a surprisingly fair deal for Tyson.
Tyson Barrie got absolutely shit on by the Toronto media. Like, absolutely dumped on. Which I hated because, as a Leafs fan, I watched the games. And the reason Tyson Barrie performed so bad is because at the beginning of the year, Mike Babcock had him playing in an uncomfortable position. He wasn't playing in the right spot. When Keefe came in, he started to produce points for us. And he went on a solid pace. He played with Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl last year, and didn't he lead the league defensive-wise in points?
I believe he was either
top,
first or second.
Yeah, he's top 3.
48 points in 56 games, 40 assists. He was the other guy you need. He was the wasn't an expert. It was Alex Edler. Was he the guy on defense in Vancouver with the scenes?
Yeah,
he's the guy smart enough to say
him and Dan Hamhuis.
Dan Hamhuis, yeah, that was it.
Yeah,
he's the guy smart enough to realize, okay, I'm fucking my stick. Connor McDavid, go.
Yeah,
and then just let Connor McDavid do his thing. Like, that's what you have to do. Let McDavid be your centerpiece.
They have the lockdown guy. They have the lockdown guy in Darnell Nurse, who I think still has more to give. I think Darnell Nurse has another level of play.
Really?
Yeah, and I think this is the year he comes into it. The problem I see with this team is with the trade I made. I know that they brought in Joey Daccord, and that's not actually what could happen here because they still, like I said, they don't have Killer Yamamoto signed yet. I believe this is what they should do. This is my opinion. They could do something completely different. It's Edmonton, but Mike Smith, you can't this can't be the Mike Smith experiment again. Like, no, there's Mike
Smith, he plays good enough, but to what extent?
In the playoffs, didn't Winnipeg score like 7 goals, high glove in the side. Like, the book is out on Mike Smith. It's been out for 10 years.
Yeah, but you gotta remember the regular season last year, a .923 save percentage and .231 goals
against the Canadians.
Those are good stats. You're right, but that's against guys like Austin Matthews, against guys like Elias Pettersson,
as much as
a little bit.
Actually, but the thing is, as much as it gives the players the opportunity to write the book on Mike Smith, it gives Mike Smith a chance to write the book on those players, and Mike Smith's older than all those guys. He's got that knowledge of how to do it.
That's the thing. Goaltenders age beautifully. They age like fine.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The finest.
Tim Thomas was 40 years old when he won a cup?
Yeah.
Goaltenders can play long. They're just do it. They play less games. They can just be the guy. All right, let's move on to the next team here, though.
That would be the LA Kings.
All right, the LA Kings. This is going to be an interesting team.
So
this might be the year LA push for a playoff spot. So they bring in Phillips and Victor Arvidsson and Alexander and Sean Durzi.
Sean Durzi was already there. He just must have signed a contract.
Yeah, he signed. I think this year Sean Durzi actually steps up and plays a lot more games. I think he did play a few games.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if he played any. I know some. I've heard Arthur. What's that? Kavaliev. I've heard that name before.
Kaliev, another great prospect. As his turf got. These are some great players you're bringing in. Some great young players. Them, Durzi. Good.
And the other thing I noticed about
prospect will start to step up.
Like, the other thing I noticed about this team is they didn't lose anybody. I mean, I guess they didn't really have any. Who did you really have to lose? I mean, they could have traded someone like Drew Doughty, but
yeah. So, I mean, I think I'd be surprised by Drew Doughty. I think Drew Doughty, he's not the player he was. I think he's still a number 1.
I mean, we can get into this in a second, but like I just don't know who's gonna backstop for this team.
I mean, Jonathan Quick isn't a terrible goalie. He's still pretty good. Cal Patterson, though, I think this is the year Cal Patterson needs to step up. He's 26. It's a contract year. This is make or break for him. If he steps up and is the starter, he's looking at like a $5 million deal.
Yeah.
If not, if you're the LA Kings, you need to be starting for a goalie. Goalie prospect in the draft or a goalie prospect to trade for because you need somebody to step up the starter.
Absolutely.
I think Cal Patterson can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you want to go through the lines here that you did this team?
I did. For your forwards, you still got Kopitar, Dustin Brown still play top line. Leaf and Kopitar do the thing. Alex Iafallo had a great year last year, as did Adrian Kempe. Solid players all around. Victor Arvidsson, another great player. Philip Deneau, probably know, played for the Montreal Canadiens. Didn't put up a ton of points, but defensively, he might be the best pure defensively forward in the league. Also,
fun fact, played for the Moncton Wildcats. Shout out to the Wildcats.
It's the Wildcats. Philip Deneau, his defense is immaculate. He is the guy we sent out and said, okay, Matthews, you're not going to score anymore because Philip Deneau's out there. Shifley was out, but Mark Stone and
Shifley was out.
Yeah, but
he didn't see anything.
Al Connor, Blake Wheeler, all of these top players from these teams that we played, you didn't see any of their top guys scoring. And it was like, all the players fell asleep. No, it was Phil fucking Deneau. He showed up. He did the thing. He didn't He didn't score. Don't get me wrong. He didn't do anything offensively. But he was basically just saying, "Oh, your top line? Nah, doesn't exist. No more top line for you. Bottom 9. That's what you have."
And at the C's on this team too.
Yeah. Andreas Santasio, another great player. I want to talk to great player. One thing I don't understand is why would you bring him in? You've got guys like Alex Turcotte and Gabe Villard that you need to give minutes so that they can get better. Why are you bringing in another center that's kind of past his prime? You're paying a lot of money for a guy who's not going to produce offensively. Doesn't make sense.
Here's why.
Maybe LA. All right, let's hear
it. They're prospects. Every prospect's a raw player, and not every single player who gets to the NHL pans out. Any of these guys, Velarde, Turcotte, Kaviliev, they could peak. I mean, I'll let what's that? Lafalo? I forget how to pronounce that guy's name. Iafallo. Great player. Again, player I wanted the Leafs to target last year, and it didn't get done. It is what it is. But he's a guy who can play penalty kill. He can play power play. He's solid. But there are players that I see in this lineup, like Carl Gunstrom. He was part of the Sean Dersey trade when we got Jake Muzzin.
Yep.
I don't know if he's gonna be good enough to play NHL. I heard he's solid, but I'm pretty sure I've also heard that there might be some turmoil there with him and the Kings. I'm not sure.
I like to think in terms of potential, and I think if these players pan out, LA Kings, they low key could push for playoffs.
Like I said, I think that their offense, yes, it's better than the Ducks, but their defense isn't.
You're right. On defense, you still got Alex Edler, you got Ollie Matta, solid players. I mean, you got Sean Dersey's prospect coming up, Sean Walker, Michael Anderson, Tobias Bjornfort. Yeah, depth players. The thing is, Drew Doughty's still on this team.
Yes.
Drew Doughty there's a reason he was once one of the best forwards or defensemen. Get there eventually. One of the best defensemen in the league at one point in his career.
But I don't think you can ride him like you used to.
You can't ride him like you used to, but he still puts up 30 to 40 points a year. He's 4 years removed from putting in a 60-point season. This year he had 34 points in 56 games. This is a guy who can still do it. He's still a solid defenseman, still a number 1 defenseman in this league. He needs to bounce back, I think. But the core is still there. The core that won you cups. So you're missing Jeff Carter. Jeff Carter did leave at the deadline for the Penguins. That's unfortunate.
And he went crazy.
He did.
Let's just be honest. He went nuts.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the thing that I'll say about this team, right? Their top two defense. I mean, I'm not super worried about it. I don't know how solid Alex Edler is. He might even get pushed out of that spot at some point this year.
Yeah.
Drew Doughty is he's still a solid one, I believe. But the problem is, right, after Edler, maybe Olli Mata, I don't know a lot about Matt Roy. I don't think I've ever heard Sean Walker's name before, and I don't know who Michael Anderson is.
Yeah, like that's the thing. Like, it does kind of like you have a good top guy, solid depth pieces that are being forced to play more minutes.
Like
because
the problem
other
is
depth pieces just.
I see a 1, and then I see a bunch of 4s. Like I see a lot of guys who.
Still,
but you have to have guys like Sean Dursey. Sean Dursey is an RFA. Michael Anderson's an RFA. I don't know what their ceiling and what their floors are, but they have to step up and try to play big minutes this year. Unless you're gonna have someone like Matt Roy, who I don't recognize the name, but he's a UFA making 3.1, so might be something like he'd have to play solid.
Yeah, and Matt Roy had 10 points in 44 games last year, so I mean not terrible. But...
You have Quick and you have Cal Pettersson.
Yeah.
I will be honest with you right now. I don't like it. I just don't like their goaltending. I really don't. Like I think Quick's out of his prime.
Yep.
And I don't think we've seen enough from Cal Pettersson for me to say to throw him the keys to the car.
Yeah, but that's the thing. We're in a situation right now where Cal Pettersson, he needs to step up. He needs to be the guy to play up his top minutes, top games. The nice thing is, though, you still have Jonathan Quick in the passenger seat ready to step in. And driving, do you throw him to use the car? No. He's still in driving school. And you have Jonathan Quick in the passenger seat with the foot on the brake. If shit hits the fan, you still have Jonathan Quick.
Yeah, but
he's not in his prime, but it's still Jonathan Quick, and he can still play. If you're playing Jonathan Quick 30 games, what's he going to do? 30 games, Jonathan Quick?
Quick's been hard declining, though. I'm pretty sure his goals against has been above 3 the past few years. And his save percentage might have even been under 9.
His save percentage this year was .898 and 286 goals against. Again, not great, but for a backup, that's not terrible.
No, and like I said, this is going to be a team like I said. There's 2 teams that are locked in this division, I believe, and then I think that third spot is going to be a fight between the teams that I said were rebuilding. Honestly, I think that Anaheim, looking at their lineup, I think that LA could push for that spot. There's going to have to be a lot of players that step up this year, but. Let's we'll get into the team who I genuinely think is the other lock. The Oilers are locked in the division, but the Knights.
Yeah.
The expansion team from heaven. The team that everyone wrote off in the first year and then they took it to the Cup Finals. This let's just get in here to the losses and the gains here on this team.
Yeah.
We see they bring in Dadonov. And they bring in Nolan Patrick in a 3-team trade, which could be good, could be bad. I don't really think we've seen a lot from Nolan Patrick because of injuries.
Yeah.
And then Lauren...
Definitely some unfortunate injuries.
And then, what was this guy's name again? I can never pronounce it right.
Lauren Brossois. Solid backup.
Solid backup.
Backup goaltender. Nothing crazy. The problem is with these in and outs, you lose Marc-Andre Fleury for nothing. You lose
nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. Nothing.
You just took a Vezina goaltender and said, nah.
Bye. See ya.
I understand why you want to keep Robin and what that could mean for if you from a pure hockey standpoint, why would you pick Flurry over? Why would you pick Leonard over Flurry?
I mean, I can give you the answer.
He just won the Vezina.
I can get when Robin Leonard had his comeback tour on the island. He was a Vezina caliber goalie, and he's younger than Flurry, and he's making less money. That's the long and the short of it. That's why you get rid of Flurry. I understand that Flurry just won the Vezina, But look at me right now and tell me that you think that Fleury's going to win another Vezina before he retires. And he has the longevity to go through the regular season, an 82-game regular season, and then play in the playoffs.
I don't know that Fleury will win another Vezina. I don't think Robin Leonard wins the Vezina at all.
I think that if he...
Marc-Andre Fleury, yes, he's older. Yes, he costs $2 million more a year. I still think he's the better choice. He will win more games, he will put up better numbers, and he will get farther in the playoffs. And we saw it this year in the playoffs.
Mental health is very, very important that we've found out over the past few years, and especially, going through the pandemic and stuff. And we understand, Robin Leonard is man enough to come out and admit that he was struggling. If he figures that out and he fine-tunes it and he gets it under control, he's going to be nuts. He'll go crazy.
I agree he'll be better. It's Leonard here, but it's still Fleury here. That's my only point. Moving on from the goaltending, though, you bring in Nolan Patrick. Nolan Patrick is a player who has had injury problems, lots of them. It's cluster migraines. It's just a terrible situation for him. But you brought him in at the cost of Krebs and Glass. You've lost both those players.
Yep.
And I think Nolan Patrick has the higher ceiling of the three. But if my choice is to have Nolan Patrick as my first line center, or Hayden Krebs and Cody Glass as my 1-2, I take Krebs and Glass every time.
I don't know, right? Because I think that this team has a lot of good center depth, and this team is, I think you're with me on this. This team is right at their window. The window on this team is about to close, and they're going to have to rebuild. And so if you want to win now, I think losing Cody Glass and losing Peyton Krebs is fine if Nolan Patrick figures out his injuries this year and he just goes nuts, which he could do. Wasn't he a 3rd overall pick, or was he 1?
He was second.
Second overall pick. That might have been a weak draft year, but I still think he's got potential. He could be the guy.
Yeah, absolutely. The problem is he had 2 solid seasons to start his career, 30 points a year. He missed a year, and then he came back and got 9 points in 52 games and was a -30. That is admittedly on a bad Flyers team. You need more than that.
Yeah, I'm not going to say that you don't. So we go through these lines here. I'm pretty sure you do these?
I did. Yeah.
Oh, you start us off here.
Did I do this line? Might have. You have Pacioretty and Stone are your big pieces. They are solid players. Mark Stone's great defensive forward. Max Pacioretty, one of the best goal scorers. At least he was once upon a time. Chandler Stevenson's your center. It's okay. It's not. I don't know that Chandler Stevenson's a first line center on really any other team in the league, but
I'm already seeing, not an issue, but just might have been a glitch in the system here. Did they not lose Peyton Krebs, or did they? Because he's listed on their 3rd line here, and Cap Friendly normally has the players moved at the time.
Oh, I am wrong. He is still on their team. So all right, going back to the trade then. Nolan Patrick for Cody Glass. That's an upgrade. All right, talk about Peyton Krebs. My bad.
No, but it's okay. But what I'm thinking about now is where if Nolan Patrick plays this year, where are you putting him on this lineup?
Probably 4th line center. Or I could see a situation where Krebs is your first line center, Chandler Stevenson's your 3rd, and then you're letting Nolan Patrick play your 4th line and let him kind of just roll a little bit.
Is Chandler Stevenson a younger player or something?
Chandler Stevenson is pretty young. He is... actually, no, he's not. He's 27. 27, and last season he put up 35 points in 51 games playing on the top line.
Okay.
Not bad. Before he went to Vegas, he was in Washington. So, no, not terrible. But, again, I don't know that that's your first-line center team. The thing is, though, you still have your second line. Marchessault, Carlson, Dadonov.
Yeah, Dadonov's a good addition.
Yeah, Dadonov gets moved up and replaces Riley Smith. Maybe he doesn't. I don't know exactly how they're going to move their lines around. Maybe you keep Riley Smith there and just keep that synergy there, because that was a great line. It's been a great line every year they've been in Vegas.
Yeah, I don't hate the forward core on this team, and of course I know this is a playoff team.
Down the center, it's a little. Yeah.
Down the center, it's a
low.
little weird. But the wingers on this team are solid.
Absolutely.
So, like we don't know, like Matthias Janmark, kind of just he's serviceable. William Carrier, again, serviceable. I think Nicholas Roy is still kind of a raw prospect kind of player. Same thing with Keegan Kolsler. So honestly, I think that Keegan Kolsler might get pushed out of this lineup, putting in Nolan Patrick, and you might see Nicholas Roy play on that wing with Nolan Patrick.
Yeah. So definitely a great forward line, but defense wise, Martinez, Pietrangelo, Fifth Theodore, great three players, great three defensemen. Pietrangelo is your one. Theodore, I think, might be your two. Teams is your three.
Mm-hmm.
And Shea Theodore, honestly, in most teams, he probably could be a one. He could probably be a number one defenseman in most teams. And then you have Whitecloud, Haig, and McNabb as depth pieces, which is good. McNabb is a good player. Zach Whitecloud's pretty young still, but he's solid. And Nick Haig,
I mean, that's the thing. I think that Robin Leonard's probably if John Gibson's the best goalie in this division, I think Robin Leonard's second.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so
I think it's pretty close.
And I think that with all of this, like I said, I think that this team in Edmonton is a lock to make it in.
Yeah.
Like I'll say it right now, I think Vegas is one. This is Vegas' division to lose.
Yeah, it is absolutely 100%.
Yeah.
Vegas needs to win this division. I think they're contending not just for this division, but for the West.
Mm-hmm.
They'll probably be them in Colorado, I'd say. But
yeah,
it really is like between that defense, their goaltending, their full, and the forward line is the weakest part, and that's still so good. That's when it's a solid.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that they'll figure something out.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we'll get on to the Sharks here. I mean, there's not a lot to really talk about on this team. They're gonna be bad. They're gonna be really bad. But we'll start it off here with the players that they brought in. They brought in James Reimer. I'm personally a fan of James Reimer. Loved him when he was on the Leafs. Didn't love him in the debacle in Boston, but it is what it is. I don't really know anything about Aiden Hill, and Cogliano, I'm pretty sure has just been regressing the past few years, kind of an older player now. You lose Ryan Donato. That probably stings a little bit, even though this team is going to be bad. Patrick Marleau, captain, been a great player for them over his career. It's kind of sad to see him go. We could see him come back to this team, especially now because, I think everyone in the hockey world has come to the consensus that Evander Kane's not going to play this year. It's not going to happen.
It would be shocking to see him play.
I think one of two things is going to happen. He's either going to get pushed to LTIR, or they're both going to the team and him are going to mutually agree to void his contract, which is something they can do in the CBA. I'm not really sure how the money would break down, but I know that they can do it because I've heard other people talking about it.
Yeah.
Losing Martin Jones, Martin Jones is pretty bad. He's been playing pretty bad.
There's a reason they bought him. There's a reason they had to buy him.
Yeah, and I don't think he's on a roster right now. So
no, no, he's on Philly.
Oh yeah, he is. So I guess that goes to show you though how little they kind of care about how he's playing. But so I ended up, I took out Evander Kane out of this lineup, but it's pretty bad. It's rough. Timo Meyer, Logan Couture, and Kevin LeBlanc. That's a pretty decent first line. But after that, Cogliano, Thomas Hertl, who's a good second line center, and then Rudolph Balklers. He's an RFA, so I'm assuming he's a prospect. He could have some potential. But Cogliano, he's a solid NHL forward, but it is what it is with him. Really, it's cut and dry with what you're getting with Cogliano.
You're gonna get just solid games.
Yeah,
you're not gonna get a ton of points, but he will just eat up minutes. Plays.
He'll eat up minutes.
Interesting note with Cogliano though. It is possible that he will be the first player to play 1,000 straight in the NHL. Longest active Ironmanship in the NHL, and the second one
behind,
as I mentioned,
Patrick Marleau.
Behind, it's not Patrick Marleau.
I thought he had the longest streak in the NHL.
Where's Ironman streak in NHL? It is Doug Jarvis. Patrick Marleau is 4th.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Actually, my bad. It's not in Chicago. I don't think I'm in Chicago. Indeed. Like Keith Yandel. My bad.
Oh, okay, good enough.
Never mind. Keith Yandel has the chance.
So
Andrew Cogliano had a great Ironman. Solid player.
Yeah. John Leonard, don't really know a lot about this guy. I'm assuming he's probably just going to be a guy that probably will bounce in and out of this lineup. He might not even play. Nick Bonino, I mean, he was part of the HPK line. So, but he's not that guy. He's not that guy that he was when the Penguins were winning cups.
No,
and as you can see, he's the 3rd best center on this team, and for some reason he has an modified no trade clause.
Yeah, I mean, he signed that contract for a while.
So
I think.
He's solid. He'll be on this team, and then you have a guy, Alexander Barbanov.
He just signed that contract.
Barbanov could be a good player. I know he's a UFA, which means that I think he just turned 26 or 27, but
Barbanov is 27 now.
Yeah, I think he could take a step. I mean, like, look at their wings; they're pretty not deep, so we could see Barbanov playing on that second line with Turtle. Matt Nieto is kind of just. I'm not gonna say I will say he's kind of a bust. I don't really know where he was drafted, but I know that he's just not that great of a player right now. He's still serviceable, but he could be bouncing in and out of this lineup.
I mean, he's 28. He was drafted 47th overall. He's played 500 NHL games. That's not.
Yeah, he's serviceable, but he's not gonna go out and score you a bunch of points. Dylan Gambrell, I'm prospect center depth again. We could see him move into the second spot above Nick Menino. And if they ever were to work a trade out, because I don't know what they're really trying to do here in the Sharks. Are they trying to blow it up completely because they have so many bad contracts?
I think you just kind of accept it and ride it out at this point. I mean, you still have Logan Couture, still have Thomas Hurdle, which are good pieces that you can move. I could see Hurdle being moved to the deadline.
Yeah.
The problem is you still have Vlasic, Carlson, Burns, like that defense.
Yeah.
That's a lot of defensive money tied up in just isn't.
I got one more thing about the forwards. Nick Merkley could take a giant step forward this year, and again, center depth could play the wing. Defense, you're right. Mark-Edward Vlasic, it's a bad contract, man. 5 more, you have to pay that for 5 more years. Erik Karlsson, full no move clause. He's probably not going to play the one spot on this team anymore because he's not doing very well. It's probably going to be Brent Burns.
Who does?
Brent Burns. You
really put Brent Burns over Carlson?
Yep. And if
Carlson had 22 points, 52 wins.
Yeah.
Brent Burns, who was a more offensive mind, had 56 games.
Yeah. And they have, players like Ryan Merkley. He's going to be pretty good, and I think that Nicholas Milish could push for a roster spot this year. Mm-hmm. He might bounce in and out of the lineups, but I think he will be there. Then you got James Reimer. I mean, he's not terrible. I mean, in this division, again, this is probably going to be a team that's near the bottom, but at the same time,
it'll beat them in Anaheim at the bottom, I think.
I think it's going to be closer than that, because I think that Anaheim, I honestly think that third playoff spot, it's going to be tight, but I think that the Sharks will end up at the bottom of it at the end of the day. But between them, Calgary, Anaheim, the Ducks, and Vancouver, I think it's going to be way closer than everyone thinks. But that's just me. But like I said, this team is, my opinion is, it's probably going to be the worst team in this division. Yeah. So let's get on to the new team here, the Kraken. The Kraken they're an interesting team. They kind of went off the boards with a lot of the picks that I thought they'd make, but as we can see, they bring in the entire team, and what we saw with their draft is they kind of just threw out the expectations for the year. I don't know what this team is going to be. I don't know what they were trying to do. Mm-hmm. Because when you look at who they took in the draft, you'd think that they weren't necessarily throwing. Well, actually, yeah, they did. They looked like they were trying to rebuild. But then they go out and they sign Philip Grubauer. They have goaltending on this team. They have Chris Krieger and Philip Grubauer. And their defense is solid. When I look at it now, I'm like, this is actually a pretty good defensive core. The only thing I think they're going to struggle with is scoring goals.
Yeah. I mean, they have Everly Gord on the top line. They also have Donskoy, Carl Yanmark. they have some players that are good depth pieces. I mean, Jordan Eberle, Yanni Gourde, they're good top 6 players, I'd say.
Yeah.
On most teams. But, like, we know when the expansion draft happened. Ron Francis said he was prioritizing top space and flexibility to build the roster. Which is a good idea, but you had so many other options you could have gone with.
Well, they only have $8 million. They only have $8 million cap space right now, with all the signings that they made and every move they've made.
You're right, but that's still almost more than most teams. Like, there's still
but I'm saying, like, Shea Weber was available. Then it came out that Shea Weber wasn't going to probably ever play again. Carey Price was available. Carey Price is a giant contract which they couldn't have afforded on this team with the lineup right now. They also, fuck Bergevin, said that he was hurt, which is a lie. Anyways, but
he is hurt. He's just not going to miss any time.
Back. Who do you think?
Carrying this team.
Yeah. We'll get into them when we get to the Atlantic. Honestly, Yanni Gourde isn't going to play the first, 3 months, 3 weeks? He's
going to miss a lot of time. I think it's like 3 months for him.
If he were to play, because I'm going to compare this team to Vegas, because that's the only thing we can really do. And, if anyone was going to score 40 goals, it's Yanni Gourde.
Yeah.
And I like with a lot of the teams in this division, like Anaheim, I don't think this team's going to struggle with keeping the puck out of the net.
Yeah, I think they'll keep the puck out of their net, but I think it's like Anaheim. It'll be 1-0, 2-0, because they won't be able to score goals. I think this is probably the worst team in the Pacific. It's down there with Anaheim and San Jose. I can't see them competing anywhere close to a playoff spot. They're looking to draft somebody like Sean Walker.
This is where me and Ryan's opinion really differs.
Mm-hmm.
I think Seattle could push for a playoff spot because I think that third spot is wide open, and I think that if anyone think about it like this, right? They start off the year, say they're hovering around 500, because I think that's where this team might end up. Yanni Gourde comes back. He'll score points for them, and I think that Yanni Gourde solely could carry this team into the playoffs. And then when the playoffs start, it's anyone's game. It's anyone's run.
If you think this team is going to be playing 500 without Yanni Gourde, there's no way this team plays 500 with Yanni Gourde. Maybe plays 500.
But
I don't think so.
There's a lot of guys in this team with chips on their shoulders. Jaden Schwartz, Cal Yarncrook, Jonas Donskoy, Marcus Johansson, all of these guys could go out and produce for them. And I mean, Alex Wenberg could be the second line guy. It could not be Johansson. It could be. But Jordan Eberle, he could go out and score 30 goals if he's in the right situation.
Problem is, I don't think you can create that situation with the team. We're comparing, we have Vegas to compare it to. Vegas had the benefit of teams making bad moves to try to protect players. So you had, Florida take a top 6 player so that you guarantee take another one of our top 6 players. They gave them half their top line.
But that's the thing.
Top line, straight up.
Yeah,
you don't have that for this team.
That team is able to score goals, but I don't think the defensive core is as good as this.
Their defensive core was fine. I mean,
but I don't think it was as good as this. They have a solid one, Giordano. Adam Larsen figured it out last year, and honestly, Oilers fans were pissed that he left. Jamie Alexiak could be a 3 or a 4, and I think Vince done the same thing. And they have Hayden and Cale Flurry together. That's either going to work, or it's not going to work at fucking all. But, by God, if it works, I like this defensive core better than most of the teams. I think if you, let's take this defensive core and put it on Edmonton. It works. Take it and put it on Vegas, I think it works.
I don't think it's not even close to as good as Vegas is. But I mean, you look at we say Mark Giordano's a 1. Mark Giordano is regressing, and he's regressing pretty hard. He won the Norris a couple years ago. Since then, he's put up 34 points in 60 games, or 31 points in 60 games, and 26 points in 56 games. This is not the same Mark Giordano we had a couple years ago. This is a Mark Giordano that I think is more suited to a 2 or maybe even a 3 spot.
But even if it's not, though, right? You have Hayden and Cale Flurry, 2 young guys. One of them could step up big. Because they
You're
didn't really
right.
get a shot on the other two teams that they had.
I mean, Cale Flurry played a full year with the Habs. He played solid, good defense, laid the body a lot. He led the rookies that year in hits.
Yeah.
Hayden Flurry, on the other hand, another decent player. We'll look up his stats real quick. But, like, he has played a few different years in Carolina. It's only 179 games. He's played 27 points. Like, yeah, they play solid defense. There's a reason that he was exposed, though. Like, it's just, I don't see this team being competitive, and I don't see any real benefit to them trying. I think I don't understand why they brought Phil Grubauer in. That didn't make sense to me. I think it was just to try to screw over Colorado because they saw the opportunity. If you told me that Phil Grubauer were to get traded at some point, I wouldn't be surprised.
Like I said, we have differing opinions on this. I still think this team competes with the other teams in the division for that 3 spot. But we'll get through this. We'll see how it starts when puck drops here. But I like Seattle's team. We'll get on to the last team here in the Pacific Division. We have the Vancouver Canucks. Yeah. A lot of moves on this team this year.
A lot of moves. Most of them are big moves. I mean, Eriksson, Beagle, Roussel, you move out. You bring in Ekman Larsen. That's long term. I think that's a bad move. Right now, I think it kind of makes sense where you need that cap space. We'll get into Hughes and Pettersson in a minute. But like right now, it's just moving out those contracts. Not much. Nate Schmidt, that is a big loss for them. Losing him and then losing Jordan Band, that does take a hit to defense. Corbett brought in 2 guys.
They replaced him with Tucker Pullman, Ryan, the analytic baby.
Yeah. And you also bring him with Ekman Larsen. Ekman Larsen, not worth his contract. Still, though, not a terrible move.
Yeah.
Like, he's not god-awful.
The thing I want to say
serviceable.
is I love seeing every summer, sitting and watching Jim Benning correct Jim Benning mistakes from the year before that, and then making more Jim Benning mistakes.
Yeah. Long term, this is a terrible.
Like, then they lose Virtanen, which we assumed was going to happen. He's got his own issues to work out right now.
Yeah.
Braden Holtby was it was an experiment, didn't work. Get him gone. And then Jimmy Vesey. I mean, they fucked over the Leafs last year. It is what it is. Vesey will wind up on a team. You bring in guys like Jason Dickinson and Connor Garland. Those are 2 solid signings to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Connor Garland.
Go Cats.
Another former Wildcat player actually played around. I think he might have played with Deneau for a year, maybe.
Might have.
It was close. But Connor Garland led the Wildcats in scoring for multiple years, and even when in his draft year, I said, this guy is going to fall in the draft because of his size, but watch out, because this guy's got the heart of a lion, and he will come out and he will score 30 goals. And I can't tell you how fucking happy I am that he did not end up on Boston. I would have lost it, Ryan.
God. I to see a player like that go to Boston, I just there's no secret that Habs fans and new Leafs fans, especially like recent Leafs fans, recent years, we hate them. Fuck Boston.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck them. Hey.
Now, I one of my coworkers, he's friends with Connor's old billet family, and so he knew Connor's parents. And Connor's dad said he's never playing for Boston. And I was like, thank God. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it, man. And they're from Massachusetts. That's the funniest part. Like they're around that area. But I mean, like, let's get into what their lineup's looking like this year, because I mean, I don't hate it, but again, like I had to, I made signings for this team. I brought in certain players. Like, I think they're gonna find a way to bring back in Hughes and Pettersson.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they're gonna have to do it. Like, it's gonna be, you're gonna have to send some guys down, but also Michael DiPietro has to be your backup this year. I know they just signed Halak, but you're gonna have to figure it out. You're either gonna have to put him down in minors or send him to waivers, because the way the contract works is I was able to garner them like an extra like $4 million in moving players around and stuff, but I think Pettersson and Hughes are both gonna take bridge deals. It's probably gonna be 2 or 3 years. I think that Quentin Hughes, I think he's gonna garner somewhere between 6 to 7, but I think Pettersson's gonna want somewhere between 7 to 8.
This is where it gets a little weird because making those assumptions is always kind of meaningless. But Quinn Hughes, I don't see any reason that he doesn't walk into Jim Benning's office and say, "Pay me like Gilman." Why should he not demand $9 million?
Because his option is, okay, you want $9 million, you don't play this year. We don't have the money to. And no other team in the NHL right now is going to go and offer sheet him that much money. Because if you're Vancouver, you let him walk and then you pay Pettersson.
You're right. And then you don't have Quinn Hughes on your roster. You just lost out on a great player.
You did. That's what this league is. If I look at it like this, if Jim Benning doesn't sign Tucker Pullman, they probably are able to sign both of them at reasonable contracts and everything goes fine. And it's not me hating on Tucker Pullman. I don't know a lot about this guy, but I heard he's an analytical darling. Did I think that 2.5 is a little high for him? Probably. But again, it's Canada tax. You have to pay guys to come and play in Canada.
Yeah.
But
see, I think the more realistic option is somebody big gets moved. I think you move somebody like maybe Brock Besser, maybe JT Miller gets moved. JT Miller, great player. $5 million, you get rid of that, you can sign.
I think it's more or less down to Tanner Pearson. I think Tanner Pearson's the odd man out. Maybe Brandon Sutter. I think those are the two guys who are the odd man out on this team.
I think you're right, but it would have to be both of them. Both of them or somebody like Tyler Myers.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
You can manage to trade him.
The thing is right now, if they don't play Halak, and they send some guys down, they have like 15-ish million in cap. So if they move Tanner Pearson, that clears them to about 18. So then they could pay Quentin Hughes 9, and then they could be like, Pettersson, take a 3-year deal or a 2-year deal. Here's $9 million. Yeah. We'll figure it out in 2 years down the road.
So I think the ideal is you take Quentin Hughes at Cale Makar's deal, and Pettersson does with Brady.
Yeah.
Takes down with the bridge deal, $6-7 million.
So you think that my Pettersson contract's more realistic than the Hughes contract?
Yeah, absolutely.
But here's the only reason I say that though is Makar didn't take a bridge deal. Quentin Hughes could take a bridge deal. That's the only thing, and I think that contract's realistic for a bridge deal. But at the end of the day, like going back to what I said originally, I think both of these guys will be on the team to start the season. They might not both be there for training camp, but I think they'll both be there to start the year. I think Vancouver will figure out a way. Like, they need both those players, and they know they need both those players.
They need to figure it out. If they figure it out, and when they figure it out, though, I think Vancouver's 13 in the Pacific.
I don't hate Vancouver's forward core. I really don't. JT Miller's a solid player to play on the first line. Yeah, Brock Besser's kind of weird, but he could score 20 to 30 goals, I think. And you have Pettersson, who's just going to be nuts. And I'll be honest, Connor Garland could push for the first line. He could put up 30 to 40 goals, I think. Like, he's that good. I think he's that guy. Yeah. Bo Horvat's always been solid. You know you can put him out there to kill minutes. He can put up points too. Niles Hoglander, guy who put up quite a decent stint last year. Not a big sample size, but we've seen like quite a bit. Like I said,
I'm expecting big things from him though.
Yeah, I don't think Tanner Pearson's going to start the year on Vancouver. So it's probably going to be Highmore in that spot, and then Nicholas Patan might get moved into that slot. Jason Dickinson's a guy who could play in the top 6. Like, he's that good. He's serviceable. You can put him anywhere. You can put him on the power play. You can put him on the penalty kill. He's just a solid player. Tyler Mott, kind of a little bit more of a kind of guy. You know you can put him in there and burn minutes. Then we break that like Zach McEwen. Shout out to the Wildcats again. Another ex-Wildcat player. He was solid last year. You know, he didn't put up that many points, but in the stint we saw him, and he played pretty good. Bring it down to the defensive side. Like I said, they're going to bring Quentin Hughes. They have to. There's not going to be... No one's going to offer sheet him, and if they do, they're just going to let him walk. That's the long and the short of it. Unfortunately, I don't think they're going to make moves to sign him. Tyler Myers, I was talking to a Vancouver fan the other day. He's like, I hate this guy. He makes me hate watching Vancouver Canuck games. He is the worst. Now I don't know. I don't know how bad Tyler Myers is. He's a big guy. I feel like if you put him with Hughes, you might be fine. And then
I think he's a solid player. Just $6 million is a lot to pay for a guy who, at the end of the day, is kind of just there to play the big body, not put up points, and just kind of play physical and rather than defense.
I mean, and then you have Ekman Larsen, who, like I said before, he's not that guy, but if you put him, instead of making him play the 1 minutes, if you put him in the 3 or 4 spot, he's probably going to be fine.
Yeah, he'll play fine. I think he's just at that, it's just too much pay for 3 or 4 guy on your defense.
And then Travis Hamonic, not terrible.
Yeah, Hamonic I think is a solid player. It's worth $3 million, pretty good. Dr. Pullman, I know you got some stuff to say there.
He's gonna play. Like, he's gonna start the year in that spot. Jim Benning wouldn't have signed that contract if he's not gonna play. Mm-hmm. I think the top 5 guys on this defensive core, they're locked in. I think the one guy that's probably out could be Rathbone, and I think him and O'Leary, like, if O'Leary's going to pan out, this has got to be the year where he does it.
Yeah, like he needs to stay healthy and get some
figure it out.
It's really what he needs.
Goaltending wise, I love Thatcher Demko. I'm gonna say it. Like, he could be incredible. And if Michael DiPietro decides to pan out this year, they could have an insane 1-2 punch combo here.
Absolutely. That's the one redeeming thing. So far, you have Demko and DiPietro there.
Yeah.
If you can figure out Pettersson and Hughes, you've got a great team.
Yeah.
If you don't, there's still a bubble team.
Yeah, and I think that they probably are a bubble team. But I think that's the last slide. Yeah, so I'm just gonna bring us back to the divisions shot real quick. So, like we said at the beginning here, we know Edmonton and Vegas are locked in. They're 1-2, and I think Vegas is gonna be 1.
Yeah.
After that, like I've been saying this whole time, I think it's a shootout. I think that they're like Vancouver is probably the strongest team if they can bring back Pettersson and Hughes to block up that 3 spot, but I think that everyone other than maybe, like, I don't like Calgary or the Sharks roster. I don't. No. I mean, like, they'd have to, like, the Sharks would have to play out of their minds, and Calgary would have to play, like, figure a lot of things out. I just don't know if they have it in them. But
I think it's Vegas and Edmonton are in. San Jose's out. Seattle's out. Anaheim's out. Calgary, if I'm Calgary and I'm out this season, you try your best. If you're out this season at the deadline, blow it up. Buy Goudreau, buy Monahan, buy all of you guys. You have Matt Tkachuk, and you build
so you keep the Chuck.
Yeah, keep Tkachuk. Tkachuk's young, he's good. Keep him. Trade everybody else and just
again. This is where our opinions differ. I think that the guy that they would build around is Sean Monahan. Really? I still think it is. I think that everyone else gets moved. I think you try to recoup assets for Matthew Tkachuk. And after that, it's a get picks, dumpster fire. You got to make some changes. There's got to be some big moves.
The only way I see that happening is because Sean Monahan's trade value is an all-time.
Yeah.
I think you let him do his best, get as many minutes as you can on him, let him score as many points as you can. Trade him. As soon as realistic value is good, trade him. Get rid of him. I don't think I think he'll fall off.
And again, our opinions differ here again. I think Vegas 1, Edmonton 2. I think it's going to be Vancouver has the best shot at that pick, but I think the Sharks and Flames are out of the race, and then I think it's between the Kraken, Kings, and Ducks to fight it out to maybe push for Vancouver's spot.
I think it'd be between, more or less, I think I agree with you. I think it's just between, I don't think Anaheim or Kraken will push. I think it's just going to be the Kings and Vancouver fighting for that 3 spot.
I think that Vancouver is the strongest spot at getting that 3 if it's going to get locked up.
I think Vancouver has the strongest shot. I think the Kings could push it.
I think the Kings, Anaheim, and Kraken might push. I don't know. It's just it could break down like that. Well, we gave our division, the Pacific Division. I think that next week we'll probably finish the West, right? You want to do Central next week?
Yeah. We'll do Central next week, and we'll talk about Team Russia as well.
Yeah, we'll talk about Russia and America there. Also, we could have some RFA signings because there are still a lot of guys who are unsigned, like Brady Tkachuk, Kale Yamamoto, the Hughes and Pettersson situation. So I'm sure that something will come up here.
Yeah, any big news will definitely be on.
And you got anything else to say here, Ryan, before I close this out, or?
No, I think we're just about done here. So Thank you guys for listening in. I've been Ryan. He's been Josh, and we've been off the boards.
Well, we appreciate you guys listening here. If you guys liked our video, subscribe or like the video if you guys liked it. If you subscribe, if you really liked it, we're gonna try to get this going a little bit better. More organized. There could be some sound quality issues that we gotta try to hash out and stuff. But I think for our first shot at doing the face cam and actually having a background and stuff, which is different than we did last year, I think we did pretty good. So. Like Ryan said, I'm Josh, he's Ryan. We've been off the boards, and we appreciate you guys all for watching this or listening to us or however you guys are listening to us. And we'll see you guys next week.
Goodbye.